Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And Sam, we're going to skip the review today because we want to get right into this conversation because we have a little time constraint on our end with Nathan's birthday party this weekend. So, Sam, you want to introduce our guests?
Yes, we're so excited. We've got two of our favorite guests, the Sailing Sloths, back with us today. Welcome back to the show, Gayle and Kara. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Hi.
It's so good to see you both. It's funny, on the screen, it says Kara and Gayle, but I'm going to just tell people, if you're looking at the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, it's reversed. Gayle is on the left and Kara is on the right. Now, ladies, it's been a little while since we've had you on the show. I think the last time you were on was to talk about the Adventures by Disney that you guys did to Belgium and Amsterdam, or the Netherlands. And that was such a great show. But let's remind folks of your sailing credentials. We know you've both been, going to Disney for a while now. You've been sailing for a while now. But give us some of the highlights. Gayle, why don't we start with you? Give us some of the highlights of the sailings you guys have been on.
Yeah, we started in 2006, and that was a choice by Kara, and wanted to just try out Disney Cruise Line. We'd had one prior cruise that was not a good experience, so I was very hesitant, and just completely changed how the besties vacation with each other. So we've been on almost all the ships, and Eastern, Western Bahamas, the West Coast. Kara did the inaugural Alaska, and we've been to the Med, Northern Europe, and this trip finally checked another box for us, which was the Southern Caribbean.
Fantastic. Now, which ships have you not been on yet? I'm guessing Destiny, since that's brand new as we're recording.
Yes, and the Treasure. We haven't been on the Treasure yet.
You guys, you got to get on the Treasure.
I know.
Yeah,
we have the Destiny booked, but we haven't found one on the Treasure yet.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, tell us, why did you choose this itinerary, which was the Southern Caribbean? It was a 7-night out of San Juan on the Disney Magic. Kara, I'm going to throw this question to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 things. We have wanted to do Southern Caribbean for a long time. And so that had been one we had been looking at. And then we have a sort of a relationship with San Juan as a port. We kept trying to book San Juan as a destination port. We'd sailed in there as just a stop port, but we wanted to actually embark and disembark from San Juan. And so this was the 4th try that we finally got to actually take the cruise. A couple got canceled during COVID, and then one got canceled because of my cancer treatment. So we luckily got to check off San Juan.
Now, let's talk about the different ports that this itinerary went to. What were the ports that you guys had? Because you hadn't been to any of the ports that you went to, other than being at San Juan. You had been to San Juan before just for the day, but as you mentioned, hadn't disembarked or embarked out of San Juan. But what were the other ports that you were looking forward to on this itinerary?
So 4 stops besides San Juan: St. Kitts, Bonaire, Antigua, Aruba.
You only missed Curacao out of the ABCs.
Yep, out of the ABCs, yeah.
Yeah. That's such a great itinerary. It's similar to when we did the Southern Caribbean, although we did it 11-night because it came from Florida, so it had further to travel. But I think the Southern Caribbean itineraries are just really awesome. They're super unique because they are not the typical ports that Disney Cruise Line goes to. Other cruise lines go to those ports more often. Disney usually only has 1 to 3 itineraries a year that hit some of those Southern Caribbean ports. It seems lately it's been on the Magic. It used to be quite a bit on the Fantasy. It seems like now they've kind of shifted, and the Magic is doing the itineraries that go down there most of the time, I should say. And that can change in the future. If you're listening to this at some later point, who knows? Disney's constantly, moving things around a bit. But such a great itinerary. Tell us, did you guys decide to go down to San Juan and spend some time before or after kind of exploring, since you were going to, obviously have to embark out of there? Or did you not really have time in the schedule for something like that?
We really didn't have time, and that was because of my work schedule. This was a Friday to Friday sailing. So, of course, we had to go down Thursday, and every day earlier was going to take more vacation days, which just really wasn't viable for me. So we were only in the one night prior.
That happens. I mean, you can't always make time for exploring beforehand. But of course, you went in the night before because nobody goes in the day of their cruise unless you live driving distance to the port. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about where you stayed. Let's start with that on the logistical side of things. And Kara, I'll throw that one to you.
Yeah, we stayed at an AC by Marriott in the downtown area of San Juan. We have an interesting relationship with the AC, actually, with Ports with the Magic. We had booked an AC for the first time in Barcelona, and that was our med cruise where our luggage didn't get there until a day after we did, after a little trauma.
And we had to go through Paris to get to Barcelona, which was also not scheduled. Yeah. So it was interesting. We were in the central area of
San Juan,
Puerto Rico, actually. Not in old San Juan, and quite frankly, would not recommend.
Oh, well, that's helpful to know. I think we like to ask people what hotel they went to help recommend, but it's also helpful to say, maybe this is not the best place to stay because of the location or the hotel. Was it just the location that was not the greatest?
Yeah, it was mostly the location. We had done good research beforehand, so we found a nice place to eat. And of course, being San Juan, there was a pharmacy on every corner, so we were able to pick up water and stuff before we left. But it just wasn't a fantastic location in terms of that. There was also we were there at the end of like a 3 or 4 day period where there'd been a water main break. So there were just a lot of water issues in San Juan that day. And actually the first room we got put in, I think this was actually an air conditioning issue, but there was water just streaming down the walls when we walked in. So obviously we went down to the lobby and they got that changed. The staff was great. And the hotel wasn't a problem. It just was not the best area to stay in.
Yeah. Well, and I got to say, unfortunately, our friends down in Puerto Rico have a lot of infrastructure issues, whether it's flooding or electric and then storms, of course, that if they get hit by a hurricane. I mean, there is a lot of issues that they deal with on a regular basis. And so it can be really hard, obviously, if you're coming in the middle of one of those sort of natural disasters, you're going to deal with that probably regardless of where you stay. But I think one of the things I think most people should look at when they're sailing out of San Juan is which port are you sailing out of? Because there's 2 different ports. And if you want to be close to that, to where your port is, you got to look at, which neighborhood that is and whether that's Old Town or whether that's more the central business district and that sort of a thing. So definitely take note if you're, and Disney sails out of both of those ports. It's not like Disney always sails out of one and not the other. It really depends on who else is sailing out of San Juan. Well, let's talk embarkation day. What time did you all head to the port, and did you take Uber, Lyft, prearranged transportation, Disney transportation, or what?
So we booked this late. I did take advantage of a travel agent offer in full transparency. And so we had boarding group 6.
Yes.
And knowing that it was a smaller port and having gone through some hijinks at Fort Lauderdale in May, when they had the technology issue, we said, this is the first time we're not going to the port obnoxiously early. And so we rolled in, I think our port arrival was like, I don't know, 12:30. We probably rolled in at like 12:15. And we just got ushered straight through everything. It was nonstop through security. Of course, we'd done online check-in. We were going to stop and get our picture taken, and we could tell that they were about to call boarding group 7. And we're like, no. And so we have never done this before. No. We walked from our Uber.
It was an Uber, yeah.
Which was fine and good and efficient, right onto the ship. There were some pros and cons about that. Initially, we were super excited because we had no sitting around and waiting. But it also took away our time to jump into the app and start seeing everything that was going on. So I'm two minds about that.
Yeah, Gayle was bothered by that a lot more than I was. I was just very happy after the debacle in May that we walked straight on and weren't standing in a parking lot when it was 90 degrees outside and hot and sweaty and gross.
And fun fact, we boarded on deck 1.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that has to do with obviously the port and the water levels, and so we've talked about this before on the show, but it's been a while since we've had anybody who's boarded on anything other than deck 4. Most of the time, you're boarding on deck 4, which is right into the atrium or the grand hall, depending upon which ship class you're on. But occasionally, because of the water level and the way the port is set up, and particularly in ports outside of the U.S., you might end up boarding on a different deck, which is very strange because you walk in and you're in a stairwell or, an elevator well instead of walking into the grand hall or the atrium. Well, I've got to say, I got to remind folks, back in May when they sailed, basically all the computer systems were completely down, and this was in Fort Lauderdale. And so everybody had to redo check-in at the port, even though they had done their check-in 30 days or more in advance. So that means everyone having to go through with their passports, having pictures taken, all the documents needs to be verified. It's a time-consuming process if they have to do it for every passenger. It's not a big deal if they've got to do it for a handful of families who, their documents didn't scan properly or something like that. But what a pain that was back in May for Gayle and Kara to experience. I gotta say, we tell people all the time, like, don't show up too early for your port arrival time. And if you show up on the later end or even later than your port arrival time, odds are you're going to have an experience similar to what you guys experienced in San Juan, which is just literally walk through security, go through very, very fast check-in and walk onto the ship because there's no lines. All of the hurry up and waiting tends to happen towards the very beginning port arrival time. So group 1, group 2, once they're at like group 3 or group 4, it's kind of smooth sailing and really fast, except if their computers are down. Yeah. All right. Well, where did you guys head once on board the beautiful Disney Magic?
We went to lunch in Rapunzel's. So Gayle's favorite restaurant is Rapunzel's across, I think, the entire fleet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when we have the opportunity to have lunch in there, plus we like that menu for lunch, we will do that. And it's not often that we get to do it. So that was an absolute treat. And of course, did the thing that professional cruisers like us do and sat there and ignored each other most of the time while we connected to the app and started to build our plans of what we wanted to do and all of those things for anything that we weren't sure of, but also enjoyed a nice lunch.
And I'm an optimizer. So finally seeing that dining rotation and saying, do we want to move Palo? So I was in and out of that restaurant 3 times, going to talk with the dining team, who was luckily around the corner in Scat Cat. But I think our servers were like, is she actually finally going to sit down and eat? But we did get everything moved around and felt great about having the opportunity to make a couple of changes, even though this was a sailing that Disney Cruise Line did a lot of offers and discounts in the fall, and this was one of them. And so our ship was certainly far more full than what it would have normally been for an October Southern Caribbean.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Because it was on specials and travel agent offers and things like that. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. Because a lot of these unique itineraries, if they happen to be at a time of year where school is in session here in the US, then they do tend to be kind of undersubscribed, right? So you don't necessarily have a full ship. But in your situation, that's interesting. I wonder though, was it easy to do pre-booking of activities because a lot of people like yourselves had probably booked to this cruise late?
We didn't have any trouble getting activities that we wanted.
Now, keep in mind, you're talking to the sloths. So we had very few things that we were trying to book, but yeah, we got
book.
everything
Yeah,
that we wanted.
did book a couple of fun things. And
But there's spa treatments, rainforest room passes. I mean, all of that good
So
stuff.
we didn't do any of that. I do most of my, Gayle's not a spa person, and I do most of my spa going on land before I go on a cruise. So not a big user of spa, although I always check, and there was still plenty of availability even on the cruise. So I'm always looking around just to see what's available.
Yeah. But you did book some adult dining. Obviously, you mentioned Paulo. So you were able to book that in advance and then even adjust it on board to fit whatever your schedule was. I do think I want to call out a great tip, though, that you mentioned is while you're in the port, you can connect to the ship's Wi-Fi and you can get on that navigator app and start favoriting activities in the app. So you put a little heart and then that way you'll get a reminder 15 minutes before that activity is happening. And it just helps you plan out. If you're somebody who has FOMO and you want to do everything on the ship, you want to do all the different activities, that's the only way you're going to be able to keep track of them. If you're somebody who's just going to be relaxing on the pool deck, you don't need to worry about that. But like you can connect while you're still in the port, or if you haven't had time to connect while you're in the port, it's a great opportunity to do that at lunch. You would just ignore your dining partner and do that. And that's what we end up doing most of the time on our first embarkation day lunch. We're always like in the app trying to favorite different activities. And I also have to give a big plug for that embarkation day menu in the sit down restaurants. It's the same across the fleet. So it doesn't matter whether you're in Rapunzel's or you're in Tiana's or you're in Coco. It's the same menu, but the beef empanada appetizer, spot on, really good appetizer. And if you're on one of the classic ships, that's where my Oreo cheesecake is, or cookies and cream cheesecake. Only on the classic ships. The one that's on the Wish class is not the same. It's an imposter and it's not good. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. Anyway, but it's a good menu. All right. So you take care of all your dining changes. You take care of having a wonderfully relaxing lunch where you ignore each other so you can favorite activities. Let's talk about some of the highlights in the onboard experience before we jump over to talking about the ports. What were some of your favorite things that you guys got to do on this sailing?
So the weather, so that we can contextualize this, our sail out, it was raining such that they moved the sail away into the atrium, which, is not the easiest thing to do on a classic size ship. We sort of caught it almost by accident coming out of our muster station. So that was fun. But other than that, every single day was sunny, upper 80s, low 90s consistently day after day. And so one of the things that we do just very hit or miss is we actually went to the pool twice. Again, that is not common for us at all, and got some great loungers up on 10 away from everybody, but still in the adult area. But the thing about this sailing, for the first time ever, again, 21 cruises and you still find some firsts. We went on the yellow curly slide.
Woohoo!
It was so much fun. And it was so cute because we went up the stairs the very first time to do it. And we were like, oh, are we doing this right? What do we do? And a couple of youngins in front of us explained it to us beautifully. Like, you stay behind this line, you don't touch anything until they tell the light moves the green. And so it was really, really cute. And we had fun. I think I did it twice, but you did it several times.
I did, but it was so hot. Could not walk barefoot on that deck. And also learned that the bottom of the yellow curly slide is a whole little set of boxes where you can store your flip-flops or your swim shoes as you go up and take the slide. So Disney really does think of everything.
Oh yeah, great cubbies. All of the water slides have cubbies usually before you climb the stairs, right? So at the bottom. I say usually because the Aqua Mouse is the only exception. The Aqua Mouse, it's right before you get in the line, which is a little bit different because you don't actually climb. You climb the stairs first and then you get into the line. And so it's just outside of that. But yeah, that yellow water slide, we call it the yellow Mickey slide just because it's held by a Mickey hand. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I think it's called the Twist and Spout actually. But it's on the Wonder and the Magic. It's the only water slide on the Wonder. The Magic has the Aqua Dunk, which is the
sorry, Brian, that's all you, man.
The scary one that shoots you, that the floor drops out from under you. But yeah, the people don't realize that yellow Mickey slide, a Twist and Spout, is for all ages. It is. You definitely tend to see the younger cruisers using it more. But it's not intense. It's a really nice water slide for all ages. I will contrast that to the Wish class, which has the Slidosaurus Rex. That one technically, I think, is also all ages, but that one is not intended for all ages. That one is really, if you're an adult, even a normal size adult like myself, you will get stuck in that thing. And I don't mean stuck like where you can't get out, but you'll like stop in the middle and they have to like force yourself to keep going. It's not, yeah. So I highly recommend Twist and Spout, and I will put a do not recommend for adults, not for kids. Kids are fine for the Slidosaurus Rex on the Wish class. But yeah, I love that you guys.
I call it the butt scoot slide, but
the butt scoot slide, exactly. Yeah, you really do. You have to you get like part way, and then you're like, oh, okay, I need to scoot my butt so that I can get all the way down. But that doesn't happen on the Twist and Spout. The Twist and Spout is wonderful. I love that. So you guys spent a couple of days relaxing on the pool deck, some time in the water slides. Did you guys do any of the game shows, trivia, those sorts of things as well?
We did a couple of trivias just for fun. Like we didn't necessarily intend to do them. We were pretty chill. Like we didn't do a ton of that.
We did, but we actually partook in Halloween on the High Seas this time.
That's true. We did. We had planned costumes,
which we had never done
before. So I was Joy and she was
Princess Vanellope von Schweetz.
Oh,
nice.
I love it. Both great characters.
So we went trick-or-treating. We did all the costume stuff. We did some of the Halloween party. So it was a ton of fun.
And we know the Halloween has worked differently on different ships from the trick-or-treating standpoint.
Yeah, how did it work on this one?
Yeah, so for this one, they had 4 different stations all across Deck 4. So D-Lounge, Fathoms.
Right outside the theater.
Preludes. We could never remember the name of it. Preludes are outside the theater. And they gave us a bag at the first station, and they would just handfuls into those bags. So it was much more like trick-or-treating. I heard on the other ships sometimes they just give you bags. But this was fine. It was incredibly efficient.
Mm-hmm. Oh, love that. Yeah. We've experienced, I think, it both ways where they've given you a bag of candy versus where they've given you a bag and you go to a couple different stations. And I think you're right. It depends on the ship. And I think Disney must give them a lot of autonomy in deciding how they're going to execute trick-or-treating on the ship, and probably matters who's in charge at that point. Awesome. Well, did you guys enjoy the deck party, the Halloween on the High Seas deck party as well? Did you go to that?
We did not. No. I mean, again, slothing.
Yeah. I love it.
Plus, it was just so crowded. We were very choosy about what we were going to that we knew was going to draw a lot of crowd. And we took a different approach for the first time ever for Pirate Night as well.
Yeah, for Pirate Night, we decided to, we skipped the party part and went down to Deck 4 and had grabbed a couple of loungers and just chilled out down there. And then almost thought we'd missed it. Almost thought that, well, maybe they didn't do the fireworks because we were moving or something like that. And then just as we were about ready to go inside for the evening, the fireworks started and the music came on deck 4. So that was really, for us who are more introverted, it was a great way to watch the fireworks because we still got the music, we still got the fireworks, but zero crowd.
Like there were maybe 8 people on that whole deck with us.
So that may be a way that we do fireworks in the future.
And it could be for anyone who has any sort of crowd, sound sensitivity, highly recommend.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And you've got to be on starboard side in order to see the fireworks, just as a PSA. If you're on the port side, you're not going to see any fireworks because they're on the other side of the ship. Because you're not on the top deck. Obviously the ship's going to be in the way. But yeah, I think that's a great place to watch fireworks if you have any sensory sensitivity or you really don't like being amongst the crowds that are up on the pool deck, especially on a fuller sailing. It's a great tip. All right. Well, the star of the Southern Caribbean, of course, is her ports. So we got to talk about those ports. We start at the beginning, right? So let's start with St. Kitts. Of course, you got to tell us, did you book anything through Disney? If so, what? If you didn't, let us know what you ended up doing. Yeah, but let's start. Gayle, let's start with St. Kitts.
So the Sailing Sloths booked 2 separate port adventures on this island. Kara, do you want to start with yours?
Yeah. So I booked zip lining and took the bus, the little bus that came to get us, and went through the island and up to this old plantation area, and got our harnesses on and got our little tutorial.
We did this exact excursion. Sorry, I gotta interrupt you. We did this exact excursion in 2019. As soon as you said the plantation, I was like, "Yep, that's the same one." Okay, continue. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So I had never ziplined before. I've always wanted to, but had never done it. And so we did our little test, and I was like, "Okay, I can do this." And what you don't realize is the test is like a foot off the ground, and then they actually just send you out over like an open valley the first time. So a little bit scary, but it was tons of fun. I loved it. And by the last one, I was, trying to shoot a little bit of video as I was going, although it was terrible video, but tons of fun. And then waited and hopped on our bus to go back down. That was I think one of the draws of St. Kitts are the little monkeys that are everywhere. And as we were riding up to the top of the mountains before we came down, they're like, "Oh, there's monkeys there and there's monkeys there." We were in the back of a truck. So like to turn and see them fast enough. And I'm looking for something big. And these are actually very little monkeys. I didn't see them, but we did get to see them, like just, one of the peddlers that was just there holding them, but they were super cute. So it was fun to see them from a distance. So that was fun. It was a great excursion. I enjoyed it. Port adventure.
Love that. Yeah. No, it's definitely a great excursion. Brian and I did that. Nathan wasn't with us on that sailing. So he has not done that he's done a different zip lining up in Vancouver, but yeah, we loved that. It was super fun. I was terrified at the beginning. And then by the last one, I was not brave enough to use my phone and try and video because I'm always afraid I'm going to like drop my phone and it's going to be gone forever. But they didn't have to like push me off like they did the first couple. The first couple, I like actually would jump myself versus them having to shove me. Yeah.
And I have my phone in a thing around my neck. So a little less anxiety about dropping it because otherwise, same.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gayle, what was excursion number 2?
So I booked ATV, and I grew up with an ATV. So anytime that I can book one of these, I will. We did it in Hawaii and had 2 different options on this sailing, either St. Kitts or I think it was Aruba.
Yeah, I think it was Aruba.
And I chose St. Kitts because it tended to be more green and lush, like Hawaii, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. Versus the other island that it was very much more desert-like. And there were only 8 of us on this port adventure. And so, again, walked to the bus, got taken to a different plantation-esque area. And St. Kitts has some mountains to it, as you will for a Caribbean island, consider a mountain. And so we went a little bit ways up there. Like I said, there were 8 of us. There was a group of 5. there was a couple, and then there was me. And so we get up there and we have the ATVs, and please, this is my PSA, please read the description fully of your port adventure before you book it. Because the group of 5, they got up there and they're looking at the ATVs, which are all single seat. And one of the gentlemen says, well, the woman with me needs to ride with me. And the guy said, no, that's not how this works here. And started giving us instruction. And about 5 minutes later, the woman then goes to the guide and says, I will pay you $10 to ride with you. And he says, no, that is not how it works. And of course, the best practice is you put your most novice driver up front of the group. And so we set out. The path that we took was a little bit of cement, but it was mostly sort of some dirt roads. And because we were traversing up the incline, it was very clear that this is a place that gets some significant rain. And there were a lot of sort of trenches and guts into the road. And so you had to be choosy about your path on the road to avoid those types of things. Well, I don't know how far we were going up, but during our incline, the lead woman tipped over her ATV. So we had a full stop. She was fine. She did scratch up her elbow. Everything got righted. We continued along our way. And then this is a single path road. There was a group of Jeeps coming down, and one of the Jeeps broke down. So again, we came to a full and complete stop. We finally get to a point where they were going to take the pictures of us and the ship in the background. I think we were supposed to keep going up, but because we'd been delayed, they said, no, we're going to turn and we're going to start coming down. So we're coming down. A different woman gets her ATV stuck in one of the trenches. So we stop again. So it was definitely an adventure, part of the port adventure. And it was very clear when they got back that they were on the phone, clearly with Disney. We went to the port adventure desk when we got back just to relay the story. No complaint. It was still a great port adventure. It was definitely worth my money. I'm glad that I went. But it was quite the day.
Yeah. I wonder if they need to put better warning language maybe about, like, because I'll be honest, that's not an excursion I would choose. Brian would probably be all about that, but he's like expert level driver, and I'm like not like I've never driven an ATV.
So the warning language was very clear because it's why we didn't choose the same thing. I don't like driving an ATV. I would consider riding one that Gayle was driving if it was 2-person, but I would
like side by side 2-person, not front and back.
Yeah. But I specifically didn't choose it because it said they were single person only. You had to, so it was very, very clear. And I will say, to add on to Gayle's PSA, this is the 3rd or 4th time in all of our sailings with Disney, and one of them was on my inaugural Alaskan, where the details of the port adventure were very, very clear. The people went in with expectations that didn't meet the guidelines that were in that, and they complained about that.
Oh,
and
I hate that.
I know. I do too.
What do you think they were hoping for, I guess?
So I don't know, but my recommendation when we got back to Port Adventure was when we checked in for that Port Adventure, I think there should have been a little reaffirmation of what the experience was going to be like.
Yeah.
But I do think that they thought it was going to be like a front and back pair that could be on one vehicle, but there was nothing in the description that should have made you think that.
Yeah. And I would say I, like Kara, would go on one if Brian was driving it and I didn't have to do the driving.
I don't even think you'd do that. You wouldn't ride on the back of my motorcycle.
That's true. I would never. When he doesn't have one anymore, but he did have a motorcycle for a few years.
About, but yeah.
Yeah, he did have a motorcycle for a few years, and I never got on the back of that thing. And never. I'm definitely not adventurous in that way, even though I will zip line. I will do other things, but yeah, I'm never jumping out of an airplane. Let's also put that out
Yeah,
there.
I'm not
That's
saying that either.
Yeah.
Well, what's next up? Are we in Bonaire now at this point?
Yes, we're in Bonaire.
Please.
I fell in love with Bonaire. We did the most tame port adventure because we did the little train, which is the little tour train. The guys were
trolley tour.
The trolley tour, excuse me. The two gentlemen, the driver and the narrator, were super sweet and told funny stories and things. But I just fell in love with everything about Bonaire, the diversity of the island, the plant life, and then the beautiful. I don't usually like desert climates, but I find that I do like a desert when it's on an island, surrounded by some of the most beautiful water I've ever seen. I definitely want to go back to Bonaire again. I loved it.
We got told that it's basically the number 2 diving spot in the world. And so a lot of people will go there specifically to do diving, which clearly is not our jam.
I would snorkel, though. I would go snorkeling,
So we got to see both destitute areas, but also there was a lot of new construction, and asked about that. And apparently Bonaire is a place where foreigners can actually buy and build fairly easily. So again, you would see something that was destitute next to a 2 or 3 floor new build that was going up. The port area was really great. It's specifically made for cruisers, but it did not, at least the parts we were walking, it did not have that sort of marketplace of everybody's trying to be like, hey, buy this, get your hair braided. There was none of that. It was actually all retail establishments. We went in and did buy a few things. I was super excited in the Netherlands that we got real stroopwafel, and here, because they do have a Dutch influence, I got packaged stroopwafel. So it's what you make of it. But we both agreed that that was a great stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just wandered around. You didn't do a Disney excursion.
The trolley tour.
The trolley was.
The trolley tour.
We booked that through Disney.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then wandered around on our own until we got back on the ship.
Right.
Yeah. How was the weather overall?
It was close enough to a beach, like right beside. You could have just gotten off and gone to the beach too.
And how's the weather overall on the cruise?
Same thing. It's hot and sunny. In fact, on the trolley tour, if there hadn't been a breeze, we would have been completely melted. But just beautiful everywhere.
Yeah, you got really lucky then. So other than that first embarkation, that embarkation day, sounds like we were super lucky. Well, and people should know, if it's not raining, you're generally going to have really beautiful weather in the Southern Caribbean. It's going to be much warmer than, the Bahamas, for example, overall. Yeah. All right. Well, next port of call, which was it Antigua or Aruba?
Honestly, I'm not sure that we remember.
I think it was Antigua.
Antigua, we had never planned to get off the ship, as the Sailing Sloths do. We always choose one port where we're going to stay on the ship. For Aruba, talked about how didn't book the ATV tour, and we had always planned Aruba as on our own. And every time we sort of looked at something, we're like, we don't know. We had looked at going to the butterfly garden and then went, don't know that that's enough value for the time that it was going to take to get there. We were going to get off the ship and just walk around the port area. It was actually quite a bit of a walk from the ship to that area. And because it was just so hot and sunny, we decided we didn't get off the ship. And if you told me going into Southern Caribbean, going to Aruba, that we weren't getting off the ship, I would have told you you're crazy. But here we are.
Yep. We did the benefit of Aruba was it was a 9:45 p.m. sail out. And it's rare to get a nighttime sail out of anywhere. And so we loved the nighttime sail
out. And a lot of people obviously took advantage of that.
Yeah, it was very, very pretty too.
Yeah.
So.
And probably a lot of people actually stayed to have dinner on the island instead of coming back for dinner, and sort of you can have a more full day of excursion or experience on the island, which is nice.
When we did sail out, I think it was it Serenade of the Seas was parked in front of us. They were still there. I don't know what time or if they were overnighting or what they were doing. And so it was one of those cruising community moments that you can't make happen as we're sailing by. Everybody from our ship is out looking, on their ship they're looking, and then of course, being an obnoxious Disney cruise ship, they have to blow all the horns.
They have to do a horn battle, right? They have to put Royal in their place by playing by playing the When You Wish Upon a Star.
That's right.
I love that. only Disney can do. Now, of course, you don't have.
Well, they don't do it on all the ships. There's some captains who are known for being rather stingy with the horns. So,
that's true. But on the Magic, you also only have the When You Wish Upon a Star. You don't have, like you have on the Wish class, you've got like 20 different songs, right? You don't have that on the original ships. You still have their original When You Wish Upon a Star horn, which is really.
I do think that they set it off like 3 times, though.
Yeah, they did. They made sure that everybody heard it.
Yeah, because they're like, in your face, Royal. I love it.
Although Princess does have the Love Boat song now.
That's true. They have the Love Boat. Oh, I think only on the newer ships do they have that horn, though. I don't think they've retrofitted the old ships for it. All right. Well, I got to talk about food because, what would a cruise be without all the food on board? You guys have been on most of the ships and multiple times on the Magic, of course. I got to ask, servers, food quality, all that good stuff. Let's talk main dining and quick serve. And then of course we'll jump over to Palo.
So we did Palo on the first night.
Give them the headline.
And went in to say hello to our servers, as we always do when we have Palo on the first night. That was probably the most positive interaction we had with our servers the entire cruise.
Oh, no.
We had the worst service we have ever had. We've talked about it ad nauseum, and we had a couple at our table with us. We talked about it with them ad nauseum about what is happening here.
Well, this was only their like 3rd cruise or something.
Right. But she also was a travel agent. So we're sitting at a table with 2 travel agents, 2 travel professionals who are talking about this. And I can't pinpoint for you what went so terribly and completely wrong all the way through the cruise, but it just was awful. We had always planned to skip one night in main dining room and go to the pub and order food off the menu because we'd never done that before and thought that would be fun. We were honestly very glad we had that planned for this cruise, since the dining experience was so bad. I think the worst part of it was the head server tried to redeem it.
So we were in Lumiere's.
Yeah.
And I had the worst table we've ever had, which fine. We've been on so many. That's bound to happen. And
there's no show in Lumiere's, so it's not like you're missing out on something visually, really, even if you have not.
We know the menu and our table orders. It was a good 25 to 30 minutes. Nothing had come to our table. And it was Halloween night because we were in our obnoxious costumes, and brought over the head server. And of course, head server is now freaked out. And then you would tell about how they tried to redeem this.
Yeah. So it was actually the next 2 nights, because we were at the pub the next night, and then it was the following night in those restaurants. The head server sends over champagne,
Prosecco,
to a table where nobody had ordered alcohol.
Yeah.
So
you guys don't drink, right?
No.
Yeah.
And so we just were like, what are you doing? Like, pay attention to what's happening here. And I get this is one experience. I mean, I will be the first one to say to anybody listening, this is not normal. We don't know what happened. Something went wrong.
It's also not going to stop us from taking more Disney cruises.
Because it's one of those moments where you stop and you go, the privilege that we have, that we've gotten to do this so many times, and that we get to do this and enjoy it. And, it didn't change us from, making sure we still tipped appropriately and made sure that our cruise staff was taken care of. So I want to make sure that we're good stewards of the cruise community to do that. But it was definitely the worst main dining experience we've ever had.
And we have seen, and you have talked about it as well, some of the ships are taking a hit from moving crew onto the new ships.
Yeah.
I don't know that
No,
was the case for our servers and our table at all.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I got to tell
weird.
you, the worst servers we ever had were on the Treasure Maiden voyage. And in that experience, they were not brand new either. Actually, well, I should say the assistant server was new, but the main server was not new. And so I think, there are just some servers out there who really aren't great, new or not. Frankly, we've had servers or assistant servers who've been brand new, who've been wonderful, and others who've not been wonderful, right? Like there's definitely a range. I'd say on the whole, most of the time, I feel like we have good service. And then every once in a while, we have either mediocre or bad service. I would say most of the time, if it's not great, it's just kind of mediocre, not necessarily bad.
I do think that the cruise line right now is expanding at such a rate that, like, I think it has downstream impacts on the service quality. I mean, I noticed it a little bit on the Destiny, and we talked about that in our review, but I think that they have so many new crew to hire and so many people, even if they've been with the company for a long time, like they're mining some of their best crew to send to their newest ships. And so, like, I think it's getting tricky from them from a service quality standpoint. I just hope that they keep like sort of upping the training and take the guest feedback and like bring the quality back up to the level it was that we're all used to, because I'm just hearing more complaints. I'm hearing more instances of like not great dining room service. So yeah.
Yeah. I think also in like the post-COVID era, I feel like they stopped, not all, but a lot of the servers stopped with some of the entertainment stuff that they would do, particularly with the kids, right? With like magic tricks and puzzles and things like that. That used to be more common, and I'm finding it's less common. And I don't know if it's the dining experience, particularly on the Wish class, being so show intensive that they really don't have time to do that, or if it's less of a focus in their training, or if they have more tables, frankly, to service, more people that they're having to serve. I'm not sure exactly where that disconnect is happening. And we have, had some experience. In fact, on the last sailing we just did on the Destiny, we had great servers. Our assistant server was new or newish, and he was actually doing the crayon puzzles the last couple of nights. He didn't do them the whole cruise, but the last couple of nights he started bringing them out. So I think as he got more comfortable with us and with probably his job, he felt like he could do some of that stuff. But it's been a while since we've seen a lot of those things that used to be more commonplace.
Yeah.
Well,
All
we
right. Well,
noticed this was probably, I don't know if this is probably true on the other ships. This is the first time we noticed it. The menu included the dessert menu. It used to be you got a dessert menu separate, and now it's clearly all integrated into one.
I noticed that, and they wanted to take the dessert order up front. They didn't like come at the end, and I mean they would, but like their preference was get me your whole order up front. I also noticed that like on the menu we had in Pride Lands, they didn't call out a signature dessert any longer, even though there is a signature dessert. So
yeah,
yeah,
they just didn't label it that way. Yeah. All right. Well, we got to contrast, some bad service with what I would imagine was some really good service over in Palo. Now, you went the first night to Palo. Did you go twice to Palo or just once to Palo?
just once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us, you got to tell me the service and the food has got to be great in Palo, right? Please say it. Please say it was. Okay, good.
Service was great. I will say a reminder to anybody who's listening.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Remy, Enchante. They all have a dress code, and it is being enforced. At least it was on the Magic. We saw two couples in front of us. One did not have any attire to change into and got turned away. The other one was given borrowed pants to go put on. So that was just an interesting situation to watch. But the food was great as always. Our server was wonderful. I won't say that she was the best we have ever had.
She was very good.
She was clearly a very chatty extrovert, which was kind of a lot for us to take. But we were just as happy and full as we are every time we go to Palo.
Very good.
Love that. Love that. I got to say, the dress code isn't what it used to be in Palo or Remy. It is definitely, they've relaxed it quite a bit. So you can be in shoes that have rubber soles. You can be in jeans, right? But they do not let you go in shorts. Like it is not, you cannot wear shorts in Palo. So a lot of the time you see men showing up in shorts, and they might be even, nice sort of chino shorts, but that is not the dress code. You have to have pants. And I have seen them loan out sweatpants before, so that's not completely out of the ordinary. But you can't show up in a t-shirt and shorts to polo. You should not be wearing a t-shirt in polo at all. You should be wearing a polo shirt, a sweater, a button down, a blouse. Just step it up, people. It's not that hard. Just a little bit. Yeah, it's not dressy. I would say it's not dressy dress. It's just not pool casual, right? No bathing suits.
I hadn't thought about it until we recorded this, but the theme of this seems to be read and follow the directions, people. Read and follow the directions all the way across this cruise.
I love that. And I love that you say that, Kara, because I think the minimum expectation is read and follow directions, right? And I get annoyed when people in cruise groups, for example, will ask the question of, can I bring a vacuum? Can I bring a blender? It's very easy to find on the website what's on the do not bring list. I can understand when people ask the questions of which kind of plug thing, right? Can I use like that? I understand because it's a little bit confusing on the website. You can't bring a surge protector, but you can bring, let's call it a splitter, but only the splitter that splits into USBs, not a splitter that splits plugs, right? Anyway, so I can understand there being a little bit of confusion with that, but no, you can't bring a steamer.
No underwater scuba
apparatus, right?
Yeah, apparatus. I saw one of those confiscated. No drones for anyone out there listening. No drones.
Right, it's not that hard. Like no major appliances. You can't, right?
No rice cookers. Yeah.
It's why I almost never get in the cruise groups. Gayle almost always does, and then almost every night as we're building up to our cruise, she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so stupid."
All you have to do is search for Disney Cruise Line prohibited items, and there is a full and complete list available. Or you can, if you're using AI these days, you can just ask what items are prohibited on Disney Cruise Line. It will return the items on that page. So
use a good travel agent.
Yes, or use a good travel agent.
I take mine with me on every trip that I go on. But use a good travel agent, and they will prepare you for these things.
Exactly. And
Costco is not a good travel agent.
Agreed. And you can ask all your questions to your travel advisor instead of outsourcing them to a Facebook group who you don't know how good the information you're getting is. All right, you guys. Okay, well, we're going to do a very abbreviated rapid fire today because we've done rapid fire with you guys.
Let's just ask the anything we missed. Anything we missed at all that you wanted to be sure to highlight?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say
no. The shows.
We only went this ship had Frozen, which we don't go to.
Rapunzel.
Oh, we went to Rapunzel and we went to Dreams. Usually love both of those.
Oh, Twice Charmed. No, Twice Charmed, right?
Yeah, yes, Twice Charmed. We don't go to Twice Charmed. This cast was lacking the it factor is the only way I can describe that.
Yeah. Shows were good, but they weren't amazing.
That's a bummer. I love the production of Tangled on the Magic. So that's a must not miss for me whenever we're on the Magic. I actually really like the Frozen production on DCL, so I tend to go to that one as well.
Well, since Sam tried to unceremoniously get past my transition here, I am going to give it now, which is we have reached that point in the show. We're going to hand you back over to Sam for some arbitrary questions, some arbitrary rules, and a dash of judgment of the round we know as rapid fire. So Sam, take it away.
All right, I'm going to do an abbreviated rapid fire because we've done this before, but we gotta update. It's been a while since we've done a rapid fire with you guys, and so I gotta get back to some ship favorites to figure out if these have changed over the last couple of years of sailing because ship favorite might change. Dining favorites might change, sweet and savory items might change. We know there's a little bit of a sweet and savory rivalry amongst the two of you as there is amongst Brian and I as well. All right. So we're going to start with your favorite port of call now that you've been to the Med, you've been to Alaska, you've been to the Southern Caribbean. You've been so many places, you guys. What's your favorite port of call, Kara?
The one that takes you to Stockholm.
Oh, love it. All right.
Same.
Oh, wow.
We can't
nice.
go to anymore.
Yeah. Stockholm was amazing. We got
Hear that, Disney?
No. All right. Okay. What is your favorite itinerary now? And Gayle, we're going to start with you.
Oh dear. I don't even know where to start with this.
Right?
Both of these don't exist anymore. So it's either that Northern Europe that hit Denmark and Stockholm, or it is the Pacific coast that actually stops down the coast and doesn't just bump from Vancouver down to San Diego.
All right. Love it. Awesome. Kara, what about you?
That Pacific coast was one of my favorites ever. And I would do that one again if Disney brought it back.
Okay. Favorite excursion now. Kara, we're going to start with you.
So on our Mediterranean cruise, we did into Rome, we did the Vatican Gardens tour. And that is still one of my favorite port adventures we've ever done.
I thought you were going to say the pasta making in Florence.
That was also amazing.
Okay.
All right, Gayle, which one's yours?
Because it is rapid, I'm going to say when we stopped in Astoria, only because we did glass blowing there and we still have those ornaments.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, you got listen. When in the Pacific Northwest, you've got to do glass blowing. It's kind of a local pastime here. Yeah,
I wouldn't go so far as to call it a pastime.
Well, it's one of those.
We are well known because of Dale Chihuly.
Yeah, I mean, the North. There's multiple places you can do glass blowing across Oregon and Washington, and all of them really, really great.
And it's much harder than it looks.
It is much harder than it looks. Absolutely, love that. All right. We got to talk favorite ship, you guys. It's been a while. So, let's just hit favorite ship and then we're going to move on to bucket list. So, Gayle, which one is your favorite ship now? You've been on all of them except for Destiny and Treasure. So those are the only two you can't choose.
Going into this cruise, it had been for me a long-term coin flip between the Fantasy and the Magic. And I still cannot fathom the day when the Magic goes to retirement, so we don't speak about that. But this cruise bumped it down, and it's coming down. Not that the Fantasy is going up, but I think that's where I still am.
All right. Kara?
Yeah, same. We're holding out a lot of hope for the Destiny. So the Destiny may vault up there. And I, unlike a lot of people, I loved the Wish. So there were a lot of elements of the Wish that I really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to getting back on a Wish class ship again.
You got to get on the Treasure. The Destiny is great. I love the Destiny, but I really feel like it's keyed to like heroes and villains people. So if you are heroes and villains people, you're going to love it.
I think that's why we're going to like that one so much.
Yeah, for sure. It is a great ship. And I mean, the Treasure is great for Parks fans. The Destiny is great for Marvel fans and hero/villain fans. I'd say more villain fans actually than hero fans, unless you're Marvel hero fans specifically. But yeah, fantastic ship. All right, bucket list cruise. So now you have lots of things you've checked off the bucket list, but I got to know what is on the bucket list, meaning you have not hit it yet. You can cruise anywhere in the world on a Disney ship. It doesn't even have to be someplace that Disney Cruise Line currently sails. Kara, if you're choosing, where are you going?
I want to go around the world. If I get to make up my own cruise, I want to hit like 30 places and go around the world.
I love it. I'll be there too. All right, Gayle, what about you?
I think I am coming up with a new answer, and that is I am holding out hope that the next class of ship is going to take us places we haven't been before.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. I think we will see some new places once the Meridian class, as we're calling it, ship comes out. We're hoping for some new ports and maybe some ports they just haven't hit in a while. Like maybe like those like Canadian ports, right? Like on the East Coast would be nice to hit. Maybe we could get some more West Coast cruises as well. I think it would be really nice if we get some of these kind of smaller New England and Canadian ports. Well, ladies, A++, you both, passed with flying colors as usual. We love having you on the show. Gayle, we got to give you an opportunity to tell folks if they would like to book a cruise or Disney vacation or other vacation with you, how you can make that magic happen.
Thank you. My name is Gayle Hartleroad. I am with Off to Neverland Travel, and it's Gayle with a Y.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, you guys. We so appreciate having the Sailing Sloths on our show. You, of course, you're welcome to come back anytime you sail, whether that's with Disney or Adventures by Disney, of course. But thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.